Are the folks on Teams, are they on?
Hey. Yes.
Okay.
Mike, are you putting the screens in? Sure.
All right. I'll call to order the December public hearing of the Oxford Planning Commission. Commissioners, you have the agenda before you. Please note that case number 2818 has been postponed. Are there any other changes or additions to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on the agenda.
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right. The agenda is approved. Any changes or additions to the minutes of the November meeting? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the November Planning Commission meeting.
Motion to approve minutes.
Have a motion to approve?
Second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right. Minutes are approved. Ben, do we have a staff report?
Just a couple items that I want to bring to your attention. I do want to recognize Robert Baxter. He's actually received a promotion. He is a senior planner for the city of Oxford now. That was approved by the mayor and board of aldermen at their last meeting last week. So I want to congratulate him and keep doing the great work that you're doing for the city. So there's that. And then I also wanted to provide you guys an update on the if you remember back in October, there was a variance request for the buffer. It was a Yellow Leaf property and it was across from the trail up by Molly Bar. That item was appealed to the mayor and board of aldermen, and at our, I think it was the last meeting, might have been the meeting before that, the mayor and board of aldermen upheld the planning commission's decision to deny that variance request. So I just wanted to give you guys an update. I try to do that whenever we have an appeal. So. Otherwise, that's all I have.
Thank you, Ben.
Yep.
And congratulations, Robert. I think that's Ben's way of telling you that all the questions are yours tonight. All right, moving on to the public hearings. Our first case for public hearing is for case number 2815. Chandler Towing LLC has filed a request for variance from section 5.5.2.2 fences, barbed wire, and section 5.5.2.6 fences maximum height for property located at 97 Ricky D. Britt Senior Boulevard.
Okay, so the subject property is located off the east side of Ricky D. Britt Drive and is the current site of an impound lot. The property currently has a 6-foot fence topped with 3 strands of barbed wire. The applicant is requesting a variance from the fence requirements to enclose an expansion of the site with similar styled fencing. The Land Development Code restricts fences to no taller than 4 feet in front yards and prohibits barbed wire except in agricultural and industrial settings. The applicant states that the fencing is designed to stop pedestrian trespass into the impound lot and that the requested fencing is the minimum necessary to achieve this. Additionally, insurance requirements and a contract with the City of Oxford Police Department state that this type of fencing is required. A letter of support for this request from the City Chief of Police is attached to this report. A similar request was heard in October 2020 for a property on the west side of Ricky D. Britt. The request to use barbed wire atop a previously approved 6-foot fence to protect an unfenced car lot was denied by the Planning Commission. The sentiment expressed by the members of the Planning Commission was that construction of the previously approved 6-foot fence should be tried first, and then, if trespass and theft occurred, that the Commission would be more willing to consider the request for barbed wire. In this instance, staff supports the request for 6-foot fencing in the front yard, but cannot support the request for the use of barbed wire. Any chain link fencing at this location should be black vinyl coated chain link with privacy slats installed. Staff would also like to see evergreen landscaping to screen the portion of the fence that faces Ricky D. Britt. The recommendation is that staff recommends approval of the request to construct 6-foot tall fencing in the front yard with the condition of black vinyl coated chain link and including privacy slats. Staff recommends denial of the request to use barbed wire atop the fence But should the planning commission consider approving this request, staff recommends the following condition: that the fence shall be screened from the road using an evergreen landscaping that will grow to fully screen the barbed wire, and that the applicant shall provide staff the planting plan indicating the species of plants to be used and the spacing between the plants.
Thank you, Robert. So just to be clear before we get started, there are 2 variances being requested, so we'll vote on each of those separately. And as is mentioned in the report, we did have a very similar case across the street from this a while back, and we said, you know, barbed wire is against code, do the fence height, see if there's any problems, and then if you have problems with break-ins, we'll consider the barbed wire. Unfortunately, I don't think that fence was ever constructed, was it, across the street?
Not to my knowledge.
No, so we don't have that as a guide in this case. So, any questions from the commission?
Quick question.
Sure.
The requirement for the insurance requirement and the contract with the city of Oxford, is that specific to just the fence or the fence and the barbed
I
wire?
believe that the contract includes the use of barbed wire. The applicant is here, and he may be able to answer that more directly.
Yeah, let me just kind of address the barbed wire for just a second. So it's kind of
Could you please state your name, please?
Larry Chandler.
Thank you.
Chandler Towing. So the reason for the barbed wire on top of the fence is one, it is in the contract for the police department. The main reason for it is any one of you are subject to have an accident in town, and you may get hurt, you know, can't really look at your car. We pick it up, take it to the lot. It may be 3 days before you come back. So there's also arrests that are made. They get nothing out of the car. So we pick it up 2 in the morning, take it back to the lot. You know, they come back, say something's missing, you know, it's our responsibility. So so that's the main reason, is to protect them. They stay there. If a person gets arrested, they can stay there for 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, as far as that goes. So we're responsible to keep it. And so the lot itself, we use it nothing else but for police department. There's absolutely not another car in there. So
Larry, just a quick question. I mean, with all this, I mean, if there's a crime, I guess including a DUI or death or whatever, y'all would bring that vehicle and impound it in your lot.
Yes.
So you're the custodian of that evidence, right?
yes.
Okay.
So if the detectives want to come back and relook at it later, they come to the lot and look at it there.
Okay.
If it's a death, they come back and do their crime investigation there. So that lot is nothing but police department.
Okay.
There's no other reason for you to come to my lot except for an arrest or an accident. You know, most of the time we're coming to you. You know, in fact, we do come to you every time you call. So, so there is no, I don't have to have a lot other than the police department. So
Okay.
I can operate without the lot. So, but for security's sake, you know, if your car's out there, you know, you got a $70,000 car out there, you know, you don't want somebody jumping the fence, tearing it up. So I've had that in the past. You know, I've been in the business a long time, so it's not something that's hasn't happened in the past. So.
And JR was the one across the street wasn't.
There's a big difference there.
It was a different type of lot.
Wasn't an impound lot.
Yeah, it wasn't an impound lot. This was just
There's a big difference there.
dealership. Yeah,
Those people have brought their car on their own there.
sure.
The people that come to this lot have not brought it on their own. In fact, they don't even know where it is. You can't see it from the road.
Yeah.
You literally have to describe where you get to this lot. So it's not visible. The lot that you're talking about directly is like a sidewalk on Ricky Britt Drive. Mine is literally behind the building. The elevation of the links is higher than my lot, plus it's got pine trees way tall. And then the Nissan lot, which, you know, we used to own, its elevation is higher than lot 2 as well. So, and then there's a building in front of it from Ricky Britt Drive. So you literally have a narrow pathway down through there. In fact, the variance sign, they couldn't even find a spot to put it because it's a narrow spot back there. So it's totally visible. I mean, not visible from anybody, because the cars we take in there, that's a good spot for them.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Mr. Chairman, I can't remember, are you the only impound lot for the City of Oxford Police Department?
There's 2.
There are 2.
There's 2 providers. It's us and Shivers.
Great.
Only 2 providers. So.
Okay. What's for anybody, what's to the south? It looks like just on the picture there's nothing. Is it south of it or east of it?
South of it is an open lot. It's behind Enterprise.
Yeah.
Rental car, and it's just open field back through there. In fact, Enterprise doesn't quite come up to the lot, and then it's just wide open from there back. And there's never been anything there that I know of. And I have the privacy fence already on, and I already have the evergreens on the other part. And those pictures you're looking at, it's kind of old. If you looked at a new one, there's a lot of greenery around that fence there, because I have the, what's it called, green giants like the university has out here.
Yeah.
I have those planted on either side of my entrance there. And then that apartment complex has 4 trees that have been there for a while, so they're higher than my fence. So,
Okay.
anyway.
Other questions?
But I really would like the barbed wire on top. I'm just telling you, for security's sake. Some of the people that are arrested there, I can see them with my cameras walking around the fence out there. So it doesn't take much to lay a ladder up on one without barbed wire. I'm just telling you, nothing to it.
When is that contract effective?
The police contract? It's 2 years.
Has it started, or what's the start date?
We're in our first year right now.
Okay, so where the cars are just on the open lot currently, or?
You mean the cars we've towed in?
Yeah.
Yes, they're on the existing lot right now.
Have you had any security issues so far?
No, but it's completely barbed wire all the way around,
Okay, it's already, okay.
down at the bottom and top.
This would be for an expansion.
Yes, this is for an expansion. The other reason for the expansion is the Teslas and the electric cars. You can't put them side by side; they'll catch on fire. So, special way to load them. They can catch fire on the truck as we're loading them. So, there's requirements to keep that car away from other cars, because they will catch back on fire just sitting there.
I got a couple of questions. I mean, I don't have a problem with the barbed wire for security issues. I guess my hang up is on doing it with a variance, if this is really a concern, especially it doesn't sound like it's an exclusive contract, so it could, I mean, the police department could have contracts, it sounds like they've got 2, they could have more around the city, which opens this issue up to potentially any business person that wants to have an impoundment lot. So, I mean, Pope, given that the ordinance says no barbed wire and it's the city's contract, what's your counsel on that?
Yeah, I'm sort of hoping you wouldn't ask. As I look again at the requirements for a variance, it is described as strict application provision results in practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship. I think you have got something on that. You have got some evidence on that. Would special conditions or circumstances exist? Well, there's only 2 of these contracts that I know of that create that special circumstance. I tend to see the same problem you see, J.R. The question you're asking about is, well, what other business? And I tend to be a little concerned that there's a city official writing a letter telling you that they recommend this, and yet I think you could find that those conditions aren't met because of this peculiar contract,
And I think you could provide conditions that say it shall only be the barbed wire portion above the 6 feet that your planning staff recommends shall only be allowed so long as they are in contract with the city with this requirement, and then it should be removed, as well as the other condition they already put in there that requires screening, and based on a finding that it is set far enough off that it is not offensive to the neighbors. Another question on the applicant. If you found all those things, I think you could, in good faith, grant a variance in this case. But anyway, I'm not telling you you should, I'm just, I see the question you're asking.
If this wasn't an impound lot, Larry, would you be comfortable with something like that?
I'm not sure the like part, like what, like without,
Well,
without the barbed wire?
without the barbed wire,
I would, because there's not really, like, you know, we operate 2 dealerships, so, you know, if somebody brings their car in on their own free will and it gets vandalized there on the lot, we had a fence up, so if they came over the fence, that's not our responsibility, because they brought it there on their own will. So there's a difference here between that, so.
how many cars will be in that impound lot on a regular basis?
Well, the LSU weekend, we had 18.
Well, that's not a regular basis. It's a regular basis.
Okay, on a football weekend, that's about what it is. On a weekly month, it gets up to about 40 in there. And the problem is most people, well, I shouldn't say most, there's a fair amount that carry liability coverage only. And so those have a tendency to stick a little longer because they don't realize the difference between liability and comprehensive. Liability takes care of the other person's car, comprehensive takes care of your car. And when they realize that they took the cheaper route and their car is not going to be fixed, then it takes me about 90 days to get rid of that car.
From your cameras and that kind of thing, have you had a good many problems with that in the past?
No, but it only takes one time, and I don't want to be responsible for it. Just telling you, when they do something like that, it's expensive. I don't really like, Jeff still in here? I don't really like them coming telling me that I let somebody in there and stole stuff. You know, I like to keep a record like it is. You know, that's the reason I have the contract. So if I can't protect them, then the city doesn't need me anymore, so.
Harry, my main concern is that they're taking custody of evidence, that the people have a higher desire to get in there and either alter the evidence or take something out of the car, you know, that could be incriminating. And I don't like us making a judgment, I don't mean this the wrong way, a style judgment that could seriously implicate something, you know, an investigation or prosecution down the road. I just, especially if Larry's willing to build the fence the way we want and put up the greenery, you know, it hides that barbed wire.
And what's protected?
Go ahead, Judy.
I was just going to say, I agree. My only hang-up is he keeps saying it hadn't happened yet. So, I don't know, that's where my catch is, that he hasn't had a problem.
But what's protecting it now is a 6 foot with barbed wire, correct?
Yes.
I thought you said it didn't have barbed wire. Your existing fence did not have barbed wire.
No, it does.
Okay.
It does.
Okay.
It does.
All right. Glad you clarified that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Anybody from the audience wish to speak? All right. I'll entertain a motion on, we'll do these separately, so let's do the barbed wire first because it's listed first. Variance from section 5.5.2.2, fences, barbed wire. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the variance to allow the barbed wire with the condition that if it's no longer used as an impound yard, then the barbed wire is removed.
Okay,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Or Commissioner Riddell, how do you vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Kirk, can you consider also putting the condition that they had said that that's in the papers you have that includes the screening that will grow to cover that?
Yes, I'm happy to add to add
amend
that.
that, yeah.
You know, as well as, Pope, you tell me if this is correct, to limit this to businesses.
I wouldn't, it's just
Leave
this
it?
business.
Okay.
It's just this business.
Yeah,
and
Just this business.
I'm not worried about precedent.
Okay.
The facts
All right.
are what they are here.
All right, well, anybody have an issue with the other condition?
If you amend that, the second needs to second the
Second,
amendment.
the new amendment.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Yes.
All right, so that's passed. The second variance was for the fence height maximum from section 5.5.2.6. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second. Clarifications, that with staff condition.
With the,
Is that with the?
yes,
Same screening condition.
with staff conditions. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell?
Yes.
All right, both variances are granted. Ben, I guess, you know, I had issues with it. I voted for it, but I guess I'd like for the planning staff to talk to the Board of Aldermen about changing how it's dealt with in the code, especially since this isn't the only business that has this issue potentially. So I don't know if we really want to handle these with variances versus a special exception or something like that, especially if the city is going to support.
Yeah, this is the first time that this has come up.
Yeah.
This is the first time this particular instance has come up to, you know, create a question about the, you know, the regulations that are in place, and it's something that we've already made a note that we're going to investigate how to handle that in the future, and also have conversations about the contract too, and take a look at that to make sure it's consistent with code language as well.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, our next public hearing is for case number 2816. Oxford Farms LLC has filed a request for a zoning map amendment for property located at the South Lamar roundabout.
No, the second was here.
Thank you.
And let the record show that Commissioner Milam is recusing himself.
Hey, Kurt. Okay, so this piece of property, I call it a peninsula. I think we've all driven by it a multitude of times, but it's at the intersections of South Lamar and Belk Boulevard and Jeff Davis Extended. There's actually 3 tracks associated with this property. The property, you know, first track, actually the property in total is about 0.66 acres. Track 1's about 0.13, track 2 is about 0.18, and then track 3 is the larger of the 3 at 0.35. Track 3 was previously a part of Baptist Memorial Hospital, but it sold to the University of Mississippi when the new hospital was constructed. And then in 2017, this portion of property was zoned institutional education because it was owned by the university and to support their mission. Track 2 was part of the original Belk Boulevard right-of-way, and it did not have any zoning because of that. In 2018, Belk Boulevard and South Lamar intersections were redone to incorporate the roundabout that we see now, but there was a you know, the remnant of this right-of-way still remained in place. Track 1 is owned by Oxford Farms LLC, and it's owned traditional neighborhood business. More recently, they've acquired both tracks 2 and track 3 of this property from the University of Mississippi and from the city of Oxford. And as a result, this property is no longer controlled by the university, and institutional educational zoning should no longer be applicable. And then also, because of the trajectory of Belk Boulevard being changed, the old right-of-way is not needed by the city, and therefore it should be zoned accordingly. In your report, I've listed the rezoning requirements or the criteria to rezone a And so I do lay out the merits for this rezoning request. It's not a mistake. And change in need. So for those that are new, Mississippi courts do require that we evaluate if it's a mistake. But then you have to meet both the change and need requirement to at least justify a rezoning. Doesn't mean that you have to just because it meets those requirements. It just means that you have to justify those requirements that have been met. And among the many changes of the character of this neighborhood, the primary change is that the property is no longer owned by the University of Mississippi or the City of Oxford. Since the property was owned by the adjoining property owner, in this instance, it's rational to keep the zoning districts consistent for the many reasons that justify the adjoining property to be zoned traditional neighborhood business. It's also noteworthy that in 2018, a new intersection at Belk Boulevard and South Lamar was constructed, and that contributes to the change in the character of the neighborhood. It's a developing part of town, so there's certainly need for that property to be zoned traditional neighborhood business, no different than its counterpart to the south in Tract 1. Staff recommends approval of this request to rezone the property from institutional, educational, and a portion that is unzoned to traditional neighborhood business. And I just want to point out that rezonings, this commission is a recommending body to the mayor and board of aldermen. So you make a recommendation, and ultimately there will be a public hearing and 3 readings at the mayor and board. They'll ultimately make the determination of whether or not this is zoned or rezoned.
Any questions? It's about as straightforward as a rezoning gets.
I think so.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? Anyone online? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on case number 2816 for zoning amendment.
Motion to approve recommendation.
I have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Commissioner Riddell, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, the request for zoning map amendment is approved for recommendation to the board of aldermen. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Our final case is public hearing for case number 2817. David Van Landingham has filed a request for a variance from section 98-112, applicability of the stormwater ordinance for property located at 2411 South Lamar Boulevard.
Record reflect that.
Yeah, please let the record show that
I'm back.
Commissioner Milam has returned.
All right, so the subject property is located on about a half acre on the east side of South Lamar Boulevard, south of the Belk Boulevard roundabout. The property was the subject of an administratively approved site plan in June 2021 for about a 900 square foot addition. The applicant is requesting a variance from the stormwater detention requirements for the parking lot so that the parking lot can be removed, graded, and repoured. Generally, the city requires that when a surface lot is removed and repaved, the newly repaved area is treated as new impervious coverage, and the stormwater management requirements must be met for that area. The applicant states that the topography of the lot makes meeting the stormwater requirements burdensome. This site plan presents a unique set of circumstances for consideration that lead staff to support the request for a variance, specifically to exclude the driveway and parking reconstruction from the stormwater management requirement. The building addition is minor enough not to trigger the requirement for sidewalk or stormwater. The applicant proposed a very minor building addition and provides stormwater management in accordance with similar sites. Section 98-112 of the ordinance allows an exemption from stormwater management requirements at the discretion of the city engineer and city planner. This exemption was added in 2018 in a 2018 ordinance revision to allow stormwater management to be completed on the same small scale as minor additions to avoid an excessive burden on property owners that were trying to implement very minor changes. The impervious area of the site was decreased by the addition of green space, as has been required for similar sites. The owner later requested to make repairs to damaged portions of the driveway and to make some adjustments to the grade of the driveways, which has triggered stormwater management requirements on other sites when completed as part of a building renovation or new construction. However, this site has a unique presentation in that it is located within a very small area of South Lamar without sidewalk and with very steep slopes adjacent to the right-of-way and in an area with a planned sidewalk project in the near future. The initial site plan review only required an easement for future sidewalk. An easement was to be provided to the city so that sidewalk could be completed in the future. As the design engineer was considering the site grades, he noted to staff that a future addition of sidewalk by the city would likely require the complete reconstruction of most of the concrete driveway and damage or render useless any subsurface stormwater management plan implemented by the owner now. He noted that the city would not provide stormwater management for the sidewalk or reconstructed drives when the city constructed a sidewalk in the future. Essentially, the design engineer pointed out that future construction of sidewalk would require the same demolition and reconstruction that the applicant was proposing, and requested that the proposed construction be considered in the same manner as if the city were completing the work. The engineer also stated that ADA compliant sidewalk would be added as part of the proposed construction, while other grading is being performed now. The addition of green space does decrease the runoff from the site, and staff does support the variance request to eliminate or exempt the driveway and concrete parking areas from the stormwater management requirements. Staff recommends approval of the requested variance to exempt the driveway and concrete parking areas from the stormwater management requirements with the following condition: that approval is for the plan as submitted. The applicant's engineer is here. If you have any questions, and Rihanna is on the line.
All right, thank you, Robert. Any questions from the commission? All right, any questions from the audience? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on request for a variance from section 98-112, applicability of stormwater ordinance for property located at 2411 South Lamar.
Motion to approve as submitted.
I have a motion to approve.
Second.
With a second, all in favor? Commissioner Riddell, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right, it is granted. Ben.
That concludes our public hearings. I do want to make two more comments. I failed to mention these before. First, the planning commissioner training that we've talked about, we have scheduled for Thursday, January the 20th. Let me make sure that's right. Thursday, January the 20th, and it's going to be at the Oxford Conference Center. I think we've put together a pretty good program. I've been working with Judy Daniel. She's actually been doing some fantastic work on developing a planning commissioner handbook, and we've been working on that together, taking, trying to incorporate, I think, some many benefits that that y'all are looking for in the, just from a training standpoint. So, so we're working on that. And if you have any questions about that, let me know, but I'll be providing you with some more information as we get closer to that date. And then lastly, I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. This is our last meeting before the end of the year. So y'all safe travels wherever you go to be with your family. Happy New Year, and look forward to seeing you in January 2022.
Thank you, Ben.
Oh, and go Rebels.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Commissioner Riddell?
Yes.